Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Andrea Joy, holistic health and mindset coach, and we'll learn from your actionable strategies for mindset transformation, stress recovery, and achieving balance in life and business. Welcome to the show, Andrea.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form, Andrea. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll be talking about healing of mind and body holistically. Learn all this from you. But before that, let's learn a bit about your journey, your background, so that audience learns a bit more about who they are listening to.
Sure. Yeah, I was an insurance agent. I owned an insurance agency for almost 15 years and was a business owner. And after about 8 years, I got really, really sick and started dealing with all sorts of autoimmune diseases and joint pain, fatigue, just burnt out. And I was in my 20s, so I thought you're just supposed to push through. I didn't really think anything of it. And after so many years, I finally just had trouble working and just doing my normal lifestyle, like working out, anything. Ended up finding out that I was exposed to mold for many years, actually since I was like a preteen. So I had a mold exposure. I was dealing with Lyme disease. I was dealing with leaky gut. I was dealing with panics, really severe anxiety and depression. So as the health stuff got worse, it kind of led in more into the mental health stuff. And I was just, I don't even know if burnout is the word because I was so bad. That my immune system was so depleted that really anything that lay dormant, anything I was exposed to came out to play. So I realized I had to make some serious changes in 2020, and I had to choose between my business and my health. I knew that I wasn't going to survive if my business would survive it. So I had to make that hard decision as a business owner to say, okay, I'm going to choose me. I unfortunately pushed it too much and didn't start doing those healthy habits and tools that I teach people now. And then I knew I could reverse it, but I knew it would take time. And I knew I would need to really put myself first. And that meant stepping away from my business. And I ended up falling in love with holistic health and our mindset and the power of our minds, and that I can eat all the right foods. But if my mindset isn't there, I'm in stress mode, I can't heal. So that led me to the journey. What started me originally into nutrition and getting like aware of it was my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer about 9 months after I started my insurance business. So that really woke me up to like, oh my gosh, this is no joke. Nutrition is a big part of it. Mindset, holistic healing. So yeah, that was kind of my journey, and summarized the best as I could to give you an idea of what I went through. And it was pretty brutal, especially with COVID out there and dealing with, more viruses and more germs. And here I was so sick.
Right, Andrea. So once you came to know about your problem, about burnout, about other issues, how did you get started? Because that is the most important point, to learn. And either you lose, you lose your willpower, you lose hope, or you start, let your life slip away from your hands. But in other cases, in like yours, you took it up, understood it, and and then you, as you say, you took your health into your own hands. So help us understand from that part, how did you know that, okay, this is the time I need to take my health into my own hands and not go to in a traditional sense to a hospital or to a doctor? And that is where I want to understand for the audience.
Yeah, of course. So I learned the hard way. I will say I don't recommend doing what I did, but I went to traditional doctors for about 2 years and sat in waiting rooms, got the MRIs. They recommended so many medications. You have lupus, you have all these autoimmune diseases. And I didn't want to take medication. So I sat there thinking, I can't do this. I'm not going to live like this. There's got to be a better way. And I started reading about holistic health, and I actually found a clinic. I've been to several clinics all over the US, holistic chronic illness clinics. And I started understanding, okay, this is the way to go. The hard part with it is you spend so much money. It could be $10,000 for just a week at one clinic. That's just a week. So I did this started 10 years ago. So I unfortunately did it the hard way, which is why I'm doing what I do now to help people avoid spending over $200,000 of my own money to heal and survive and not be stuck on medication. So I went the traditional route, started understanding holistic. When my mom was first diagnosed, we saw nutrition. So I had that little seed planted there of like, maybe holistic is the way for me to go. And I started going to different clinics and experiencing the different things like IV treatment and all these supplements out there, and understand the mindset and meditation and mindfulness. And realized, wow, I was living in like stress mode since I was a kid. I had my first anxiety attack at the age of 8. So it took me time to honestly to realize, okay, and even when you go to a holistic clinic, that doesn't mean they're going to help you. And I realized that as well, is just because you're at a holistic clinic doesn't mean that's the right thing for you, or they're going to do the exact thing you need. So it took me time to learn to listen to my body of what I needed. I knew after several years of sitting in doctor's appointments and nobody would do an MRI and say, you're fine. We don't see anything wrong with you. And I'm like, I'm in pain. I'm on fire. Like, I'd be burning. My joints would be hurting. Like, it was so bad. So I realized that wasn't for me, and I went holistic. And then even going holistic, I had to kind of weed my way through of like, okay, what's really going to work? Because I can end up spending $500,000 and get nowhere. So I started that mindfulness and meditation, listening to my body of, okay, I'm taking 40, 50 supplements a day, but I'm doing it while rushing. How are they going to actually digest and help me if I'm in stress mode while I'm taking it? If I'm in stress mode while I'm eating? So it was a journey. I had to kind of figure out what works best for me in the holistic world, even though I knew that was a better option than being medicated and doing those things for me. So that's kind of where I went. I went from doctor to doctor all throughout the U.S., finding out what tools I needed. I call it a virtual toolbox. So what tools did I need to heal when it came to nutrition, to movement, to mindset, to supplements, and even clean living? I was exposed to so many chemicals over the years, and I really needed to understand, like, okay, now I couldn't even be around any type of cleaners or personal care products that would make me have a rash. So now I needed to eliminate any type of toxins in my cleaners and personal care products and my mattress and my furniture and all things like that. So it was a journey of learning, okay, these like 5 categories are really what's going to help me heal.
Absolutely, absolutely, Andrea. So, when did things start working for you? When did you start getting some better result by your understanding? You start to look, okay, now I am on the path of recovery.
I would say it was probably a few years in, just because that first clinic I went to, even though I was spending so much money there, I had surgeries. I had my breast implants removed, so that was a big part of it. And I had other surgeries. I had something called cavitation surgery that they felt would be like the perfect fit for me. And that would fix everything. I was told by a holistic doctor, you do this one surgery, it's going to fix everything, which I look back and think how ridiculous that is. So it was probably a few years in, at least 4 or 5 years in, when I started to actually think, okay, I really got to make some shifts myself. And that's when I went to school to become a holistic health coach. I went and became a workplace and individual mindset facilitator and thought, I need to learn this stuff for me. And then if I'm lucky enough, I get to go teach other people. So it's probably 4 or 5 years in, which isn't ideal. But again, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So people don't have to spend that money and go through that to find out what works for them. I started to see a shift in my nutrition when I was cutting out sugar, when I was cutting out dairy, when I was cutting out gluten, and like really being mindful of it. That was a shift. When I started meditating, being more mindful, when I was actually taking a little bit less supplements and really thinking about using my own intuition and my own gut, what feels right for me. Too much is just not going to work. So that really helped. And then my biggest shift over a little less, I guess it's been about a year on the carnivore diet. I started slowly like going into it about a year ago, and I've been a strict carnivore for 8 months. That was the biggest shift I've seen with nutrition, where my cycle came back as a female. If you ever lose your cycle, that was a big thing. Hormones shifted. I gained muscle and weight and just felt stronger than I've ever felt. Even before this all started, I've never felt this like stable and strong and rooted. So the nutrition, I realized, was a big part of it. And really, for me, the biggest part, nutrition has been extremely helpful, but really being mindful of not rushing from one thing to the next. And that's over the last few, it takes time, right? It's not like I just woke up one day, I'm like, I'm going to just be relaxed and I won't let stress bother me and I'll build stress resilience. And like, it just took time to consistently build those things. So it was about 4 or 5 years in, I started to see a shift. And then over the last year has been my biggest shift of feeling like, okay, I can travel, I can do more things. I feel like my immune system's strong. I can work out, I can do yoga, I can do rock climbing, I can do all those things because not only do I physically feel better, but mentally I feel prepared for these things.
Absolutely. So let's talk about these four things you talked about: nutrition, movement, mindset, and also we'll talk about supplements. But first, in terms of nutrition, you changed from vegan diet to a carnivore diet. Why? I thought the world is moving towards veganism. You moved, you reversed it.
I know, and I was strict vegan too. I had the vegan shirts. I went to the events. Like I watched the documentaries. I was all in vegan for about 5 years, and this was probably leading up those few years leading up to me feeling really sick. I thought it was the best thing. I was convinced that plants were the way I was going to heal, and that meat was bad, and that's where I was at, right? So that was okay. But as I started to realize, I started to get like cracks in my lips from a vitamin B deficiency. I started to get more fatigue. I lost a lot of hair through that time. So I do think different types of diets are okay for shorter amounts of time. And honestly, listening to what your body needs in that moment. That was too much stress for me. It was too long on the vegan diet for me. And then from vegan, I went to pescatarian. Or no, I went from vegan, I went to vegetarian, then pescatarian, then kind of keto-ish, and then carnivore. And dealing with autoimmune for so many years, I wanted the nuts and the seeds and the beans and things like that, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't do eggs for the longest time. So I really had to listen to my body. And in the beginning, I wasn't. I just was so excited about being a vegan. I loved everything about it. I loved the community, the places I would go to eat. So to go through that process and then realize, I thought, a doctor mentioned to me, carnivore. I started researching it, came across all these people doing it, especially with autoimmune. And I thought, what does it hurt to try? I'll try it. I didn't really even know how to cook much meat. Coming from being a vegan, I was like, what do I do with this? But I listened to my body, and within a few weeks in, my cycle came back like that. I could feel the hormones running through my body. I started to gain weight, which I needed. Some people do it to lose weight, but I did need to gain some muscle and just become stronger. I felt more energy instead of that dip in the afternoon that we get, or some people get, or you crave, maybe some sweets or something to give you that energy again. I did not have that anymore. So it was just this huge shift that I was like, this is really working. Along with doing blood work, I've done blood work to check my cholesterol and triglycerides and check everything to make sure it's okay. So I'm very responsible with it. But I felt a lot of strength in it. And that's a big thing for people, is learning how to listen to your body. And many of us don't. We've shut it off, right? In the beginning for me, it was these whispers of something going on. And then it became these loud screams. And I still was trying to listen, but really didn't know what my body needed. And as I went through the different diets and looking back, it was like, well, if I just would have listened and learned how to listen to what my body needed, probably would have taken a lot less time.
Absolutely. So how do people identify that, okay, this is what their bodies need in terms of diet? In your case, you tried, and you were persistent, resilient in terms of trying it for several years now. Not only diet, but also the whole process. But what about others, especially in terms of nutrition? How do they know, okay, this is what my body needs? Forget the cravings, what is your advice? Not everyone will be able to take your coaching. A lot of people will listen to this episode. What should they do in simple terms?
Of course. I think the first step is to be open and curious, because I was very closed off to anything besides vegan, right? And if you're keto or there's one type of nutrition or diet you like, sometimes we're closed off to everything else. So first is to be open and curious, and maybe doing research about other diets, about what could work, even Mediterranean, and just being open to it. So I think that's the first step. The second step is to learn to tap into your body, to breathe more, be more mindful, and be present, right? Whether that's, just more breathing exercises, grounding yourself outside, meditations, because then you're not so much allowed, but you're able to really listen to your body and be more aware. That awareness then allows us to realize, wait, I'm eating when I'm not even hungry, or I'm eating things that are upsetting my stomach, or after I eat that, I actually get inflammation. I didn't even realize it. So that awareness is step 2. Because if we don't have that awareness, we're not listening to those whispers, then we don't know what our body's trying to tell us. So when we do switch a diet, we're not listening. We don't know the information it's giving us. And then I would say third, try, like I did. Try, and maybe try for, I would say, at least 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, try eliminating gluten or dairy or sugar, or research keto or carnivore, and just try it. For me, and I didn't realize this when I started carnivore, but it was a journey. I would have stopped probably 2 months in, because I was getting different reactions, like histamine reactions, like headaches and sinus pressure. So I would have stopped if I didn't research. So it's the next step. So if you try something, you feel like it is working, you're seeing results, then do your research to overcome any obstacles, to really give it a chance. So a lot of people will do these different diets for 60 or 90 days to really work through those issues, overcome them, and see what it can do for your body.
Absolutely. Now, in terms of movement, one should, how much movement is required, if at all? If someone is fully fine, no problem. That also you can take how much is, because someone says 10,000 steps per day, and then you don't do it, you feel guilty about it, or you people go to the gym, go for walk. So several things. What is your take on this movement part, and also people who are not too well, means they have also this challenge of movement. So what do you recommend in case such clients come to you?
Yeah, I love that. That's a great question. Thank you. I would definitely say the key there, word, like you said, is movement. Not necessarily exercise, not pushing yourself. Just move every day. So that could be, doing chores around the house. After you eat, ideally, it is good to do some movement. Not necessarily exercise, but movement. So it could be going for a walk outside. It could be gardening. Just move your body is so important. So that's the first step, is to realize it doesn't have to be this hardcore exercise every day. It could be yoga. It could be stretching for 30 minutes or 20 minutes, or could be working out. And then when you realize, okay, first of all, doing something that you enjoy as well, right? So if we're doing the movement that we dislike, we're less likely to stick with it. And then as looking at too, again, this awareness of like, I was always lifting weights, and movement is quick movement for me. And that fed into the type A rush for me. So that the movement I was doing actually didn't give me balance. It just fed into that stress and anxiety sometimes. So I had to learn more of the stretching, the yoga, the breathing, to do things that, even the chores around the house, or going for a walk in nature. That created that balance for me, where I was still moving without doing too much. And for some people, maybe they're a little bit more low key. They don't know as high anxiety. So for them, the workout and the strength training is really important. But I would say every day I move, I listen to my body in that day. So if there's a day I'm feeling off, I don't push it. I just do a nice walk in nature for 20, 30 minutes. But those days I'm feeling good, again, it's that listening to my body is so powerful. So those days that I feel good and I feel strength, I'm at the gym, for 30 minutes usually. And if I don't have time, I'll go to the gym for 5 minutes. I'll work out for 5 minutes. I don't care. It doesn't have to be an hour, 30 minutes, or even 10 minutes. But I do something and it feels so good. I know I'm taking care of myself and filling myself up. But it's honestly every day. Because even on the days I can't say I take a day off, even on the days that I'm not like exercising or working out or doing something a little more strenuous, I'm still taking walks and slowly and just being in nature, just moving my body in some way to take care of myself.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Andrea. What about mindset? I think the role of mindset is where is it all starts. Is it or is it not? How should one look at the mindset part? Everyone thinks, they are fine, their process is fine, their mind is fine, they are looking at the world fine, except that they are not feeling fine. So how should people use their mindset, change the mindset if needed? Where do they start here?
Absolutely. Thank you. That's another great question. So we have 60, 70,000 thoughts a day, and 90% are the same as the day before. So we're having the same thoughts every day for the most part, which leads to the same emotions and then leads to the same actions. we're not aware. Again, it's that awareness. We're not aware of this. So, when we're feeling sad or stressed or anxious, or you're feeling like, yeah, my mindset's okay. I encourage you to be aware of your thoughts, be aware of how you feel about yourself, your self-talk. Most of our self-talk is so negative. So starting there, it was just by trying to be mindful. Informal mindfulness is what it's called throughout the day. Of when you're washing dishes, take a breath and come to that moment of how does the water feel? What does the soap smell like? What does a dish feel like? So just really stepping back. When you're folding laundry, what do the towels feel like? What's the color? What do you see? What do you smell? And as we just create that more stillness and more aware of those thoughts more throughout the day, we're aware of how we're feeling more, and we can make more shifts. And if you have time or you're doing a meditation practice, that's fantastic. So anything like that mindset, really being aware, how am I talking to myself? Or am I having the same thoughts every day? Do I feel like I'm rushing? Again, like you said, we might not even be aware if we're doing these things. But when you take a breath, even a few breaths before you eat, right? Typically we eat in just under 5 or 10 minutes, and we should be eating ideally 15 to 20 minutes is when the brain and the belly connects, that we're full. So really taking our time, putting the fork down, taking some breaths, looking at the colors of our food, looking at our plate. So these are really important things to create through the day, because then we gain that awareness of those 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. And are they the same as the day before? How are they making us feel? How are we acting then? How are we talking to ourselves? These all really play into, all our cells can hear our thoughts and our words. Every cell in our body can. So if you're thinking bad about somebody else, yourself, a situation, if you're saying bad things, that are destructive to yourself and to others, your cells hear that, and it affects your body and your brain and how we heal, how we live, how we feel, how we thrive. So it's really, really important to be that mindset, slowly stepping into it, maybe just taking a couple deep breaths while you're driving. Like you can start super slow with just being aware of how you're breathing. Is your belly rising and falling? Or are you just breathing into your chest? And it's a very tight, slow breath. So those things are really key to kind of just tapping into your mindset.
Absolutely, absolutely. There is much to learn from you. One thing I want to understand, which is much more peaceful, being a holistic health and mindset coach, or uh, when you were running your insurance agency. How do you look at your life then and life now?
Very different. I do work with insurance agents now, owners. I do, because I work with a lot of business owners and their employees as well. So I can see into it and remember what it was like, because I'm working with them, and I can still see it clearly. Excuse me. And it was just a very different way of, one, doing something that maybe I didn't feel aligned with and felt right, even though I really did love sales. I loved being a business owner. So just looking back of like, wow, I wasn't really enjoying life. I wasn't really present. My first couple of years, I remember just not drinking water all day long, so I'd have to go to the bathroom. Like that's horrible for my body, for my mind, for everything. So the neglect, I wasn't honoring my body, and I was younger, but I think we have that mindset too, a lot of like that work hard, play hard mentality, and that push through. And that's what I really thought was right and correct, not realizing you can still work hard, but taking care of your health, your body, and your mind. So it was just a very different, like push, hit sales, do these things, which again can be okay. But that awareness around like, okay, but how do I feel? Am I taking care of myself at the same time? Am I detaching from work when I leave, or is it still with me? And what tools do I need to do to detached and fully enjoy my life outside of work? Or what tools can I bring in the workplace? That's what I love doing, is I work with other business owners, and I bring this in the workplace, because obviously it's a great place to make profit, hit sales, do well, but it's also a great place for community and support each other and to learn about our mind and body and still have a healthy work environment. So I look back and just think, well, I could have done it differently. Not that I regret it, because I feel like my journey is powerful and I was meant to go through it. And I couldn't understand what I know now if I didn't actually go through it, right? But I think so many of us are going around it. And even that's with like working out a lot. We're just working out so much, and we think that's the key to healthy, and we're just doing that only. Or we're having a drink at night or on the weekends to disconnect. or we're overeating sugar or gluten or bread to disconnect, right? So we're doing these maybe unhealthy habits to truly disconnect. And looking back, I was like, wow, I was doing that. Working out too much when I didn't need to, kind of overdoing it when I was exhausted, not getting the proper sleep, not getting some sunlight right inside all day, not getting any light. So I had those fluorescent lights on me all day. And in the beginning, I didn't even have a window in my first office. I had no idea what it even looked like outside all day, which is horrible. But that's it. I didn't have a choice. That was part of it, right? So I would have walked outside just for 2 minutes. I would have drank more water. I would have just done those little steps, maybe nothing extreme, but those little steps to truly take care of myself. When I look back now, knowing what I know now.
Absolutely, and you have all the wisdom that you have now
Yes.
from life as well as what you are doing as a holistic and mindset coach. There is much to learn from you, Andrea, and I'm sure a lot of people would want to connect with you, learn more about your journey, about what you are doing, be your client. What's the best way for them to connect with you?
So you can go to my website, AndreaJoyHealthCoaching.com. You can email me at AndreaJoyHealthCoach@gmail.com. On Facebook as Andrea Joy. You can find me on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube. I'm all over. So if you go to my website, you'll see it all there as well. But feel free to check me out there. I'm really, if you just Google Andrea Joy Health Coaching, I'll come up there as well. So you can kind of find me everywhere.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you so much.